Hey guys, welcome back to Advanced Bass Fishing, and appreciate you guys coming by the channel. And guys, we have got a good tip for some quality fish for today as far as catching big ones. We're going to be talking about fishing a buzzbait in the early spring. This is the time of year you catch your biggest fish on a buzzbait of all year. And I got some tips and advice I want to pass on to you guys as far as what type of areas to look for and the type of buzzbaits and how to work them and all that. Definitely think it's going to add up to some quality fish for you guys. And also guys, I will put my buzzbait link and my tackle warehouse link in the description of this video. If you guys need to get stocked up on buzzbaits and you want to use my tackle warehouse link to do so, man, that's a great way to support the channel here, as we get a small percentage of a commission on anything you purchase through tackle warehouse. So appreciate everybody that's been doing that. And also guys, thank you very much for everybody that's taking time to subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate that as well. Okay, one of my favorite ways of catching bass in the springtime of the year is to throw a big buzzbait before anybody throws a big buzzbait, specifically when the water temperature's in the 50s. Now, most people don't think about throwing buzzers when the water's in the 50s. Some people maybe a little bit, but for most people, a buzzbait is a warmer water deal. They normally associate water temperatures over 60 degrees for topwater fishing, which there is some truth to that. But there is a specific situation where if you have water temperatures in the 50s or even maybe low 60s, when you get this right set of conditions and circumstances, you can catch some toads on a big buzzbait. And the one that you want to use, guys, is a big black buzzbait. The bigger the better. This is the Megabass Jamaican Boa, but there's a lot of companies that make the same thing. But you want a big black blade. You want a large profile buzzbait, something that puts off a lot of movement in the water. You don't want to use these little bitty 3/8 and ½ ounce buzzers. You want a big, large profile buzzbait like this. The bigger the better. That is critical, and it's also critical to use black. Something about it, I don't know what it is, when you got water temperatures in the 50s and low 60s, a black buzzbait not only catches more bass, but it'll catch bigger ones too. So that's the thing that you want to remember with that. And before we get into the type of areas to fish it in, I want to talk a little bit about how to work this buzzbait and the equipment. You want to throw this buzzer, in my opinion, on a flipping stick. So I'll throw it on that Megabass Alkalies flipping stick, 25-pound test Seaguard VizX fluorocarbon line. I've used braid a little bit. I don't really like it too much, but one of the reasons you want to use the flipping stick is that you can reel a buzzbait slower with a long rod. So if I want to slow that buzzer down to where it's just like bloop, 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 just barely staying above the water, I'll cast it out there with the flipping stick, and I'll keep that flipping stick like at 11 or 12 o'clock where the line is completely out of the water for a lot of the cast, and I'll just reel it slow like that. And if I was pointing the rod at the buzzbait like that, I'd have to reel it faster to keep it above the water. But that 7-foot 11-inch flipping stick held high up in the air like that allows you to reel it super, super slow. And that's what you want to do anytime the water temperatures in the 50s or low 60s, is have that buzzbait just move just fast enough to keep those blades turning above the water. That is critical to catching these big ones in those type of conditions. And that'll also work in the fall time of the year when the water's in the 50s, except that time of year I like more of a shad pattern, not the black one. Okay, let's talk a little bit about now as far as the conditions where you want to throw it at, because a buzzbait is a very conditional lure in terms of the weather patterns and how the weather is for it. You can catch fish on a buzzer in a lot of different conditions in the springtime, but not so much in the early spring. Here, what I'm talking about. So let me lay out the scenario when I do have a buzzer. First of all, I want the fish to be aggressive, and they've got to be shallow. So in the springtime of the year, for that to happen, you got to have a couple different things take place. Number one is you need to have one of those spring days that's like the temperature is maybe a few degrees above normal, like unseasonably warm. That's number one. Number two with it, you need to have some level of clouds where it's either at least a minimum of 75% overcast. The clouds are covered by the 75% of clouds, or cloudy. So that is extremely critical with it as far as the cloud cover and the warm temperatures. The cloud cover and the warm temperatures, which is usually associated sort of like with a prefrontal condition, means you also have like a falling or stable barometric pressure. The humidity in the air seems a little bit thicker. all those factors combined is what is important to get a bass to go for that big buzzbait early in the spring. When you have those conditions out there, you're going to have a segment of bass that move super shallow, and they're usually bigger ones. They're usually bass that are over 3 pounds when you do this, and you can catch some monster bags if you get that type of situation. So here's a perfect scenario with it. Let's say we're out there right now. At the time of filming this video is third week of March. Say we go fishing, and when we launch the boat, the water temperature is say 53, 54 degrees, and it's a cloudy, warm day. Perfect for what I'm talking about. Say 1 o'clock in the afternoon or so, air temperature's been warm. Even though it's been cloudy, it's still warm in the air. And you may get to the back of one of those coves, like a back of a cove in shallow water, and the water temperature is 60 degrees. It warmed up with that, above normal temperature, and later in the day, everything starts warming up. So you get back into those areas like that, and what you want to look for is those flatter, shallow areas, the same type of water where the bass are going to spawn at. Even though they may not be up there spawning, this is where they pull up to on those type of days, as long as you have water visibility. And this is another critical factor. The water visibility needs to be anywhere between 1.5 to 2.5 foot. Dirtier than that, it's not going to be very good. Cleaner than that, it's not going to be very good. That window, 1.5 to 2.5 foot of visibility, warm conditions, overcast, perfect scenario for that, for catching big ones. And the wind, this is one situation I don't want much wind, if anything. I would rather have like a calm condition. I want a warm, muggy, calm, scenario. That's what gets those fish on that buzzer, and you can catch big ones doing that. So anyway, guys, if you get a situation like that, put you on one of those big black buzz baits and start throwing it before most people do. It happens every year. There's been so many tournaments I've been to in the past. Let's say that I'm catching them on a jerkbait or a wigglewort, and I'm still in that hardcore pre-spawn mode. And then I'll find out some guy, hey, such and such, he caught that 20-pound bag on a buzzbait in the back of the coves. I've heard that countless times. So anyway, I hope it helps you guys catch some good ones. We'll talk later.